What's up, guys? Welcome to another YouTube video. What you're about to watch is an interview that I did this morning with our writer. He helps us write emails and landing pages and stuff like that. His name is Joe, and he's just interviewing me to kind of get another background on my story, a couple pieces for different things that we're working on behind the scenes and stuff like that. And this is me really telling my story of how I started entrepreneurship, how I always had entrepreneurial tendencies and sales and stuff like that. So I hope you guys take a couple lessons from it and enjoy.
So, one thing that I've noticed a lot of people who go into business later on have in common is that they did something to make money when they were younger, whether it was washing cars or just doing odd jobs like this. Is there anything that you did like that when you were a kid?
Yeah. I cut lawns.
You cut
I
lawns.
cut my neighbors' yards.
And
Just
how did
and
you
shoveled.
how
What's that?
yeah, no, go. Sorry.
Yeah, I cut my neighbors' lawns and I shoveled snow. So I just kind of I was like, oh, like, well, first, my dad had a paper route growing up, so he always kind of encouraged me to
Yeah.
start making some money and whatever. And paper routes didn't really exist for like kids. So I was probably like 10, 12 years old. And I just approached a couple of neighbors. I think there was like three or four of them, just like next door neighbors. And I started shoveling for them. I started cutting lawns. So I would make like, I don't know, I was probably making like a couple hundred a month, doing that as like a kid, 20,
As
30
te
bucks to cut a lawn
as a 10-year-old.
as like a 10 to 12-year-old. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how did that feel having $100 to your name when you're 10 years old?
It was cool. Yeah, it was it was super cool. I didn't
It's
know
like a
what to
million.
do
It's
with
like a
it.
million dollars when you're that old.
Yeah, I probably bought like Nerf guns or something. I'm like a little kid, but um, yeah, I was cutting lawns and shoveling snow. And I sometimes forget that. That's a good reminder of I just never even think about it. And lemonade stands too. I would start like little lemonade stands. Um, I don't know how many I did, but I did a bunch. Buy the lemonade mix from the grocery store. Got the lemonade stand up. Got the sign at the end of the street. Sign at the end of the other street on the busy roads. And yeah, I was slinging lemonade. And then there's one more thing. Oh, we would have like there's be like garage sales and stuff sometimes, and this kind of comes back to the Nerf gun thing. Um, I would well, I was kind of like done with it. Maybe I was like 14 or something. Not even. I was probably maybe 13. I don't know. But I was kind of done with all the toys thing. I'm growing up. And what I did is I started selling those at the garage sale. I had a bunch and Legos and shit like that. And I would just try to sell them like crazy. Like I was charging like above retail price on them, trying to get people to buy them. I was like, this is modified. Da, 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 da. I remember all that stuff. So I was a bit of a salesman. I had the lemonade stuff that I did, shoveling snow, cutting lawns, stuff like that.
Do you think you had a natural ability for sales,
Probably to a
or did you
degree.
was it kind of like a process of figuring out through these like little things?
Just so long ago, I don't remember. I was a kid, but there's definitely like a natural like entrepreneurship there for sure. Now I'm not one of those like Shark Tank kids or whatever. I was never that, but there's always kind of a rejection of authority and a rejection of like everyone's doing this, everyone, I always really took pride. Like there's one thing, whenever I would play like with toys or whatever with a kid growing up, my mom always said that I was very protective of my stuff. And I always wanted my stuff. And I would always try to convince the other kids to do it my way. Right. And there's always like even from when I was young, like 5, 6, 7 years old. And then obviously the entrepreneurship stuff. So I would say it probably comes naturally to me, but I wouldn't say it's like obviously sales tactics and stuff, whatever. That's a different game. That's something I learned even after car sales, right? But
But at the
um,
very minimum, you had this drive to like go out and make your own money or make money on your terms.
yeah, it might not have been money per se, but it was just like do my thing, do my own thing, kind of, and kind of a rejection of more authority-based stuff, or this is what everybody else is doing, so I'm going to do it my way, and I have a way of doing it, etc. Very stubborn growing up. I get that from my grandpa. He was just his way. All right, he was also in business, so um, yeah.
What did he do?
So he traveled around New York. So this is when sales was like in person. You're calling and then you're going in person. There's none of this Zoom stuff. There's none of this invoice stuff online. The internet doesn't exist. So he was traveling around New York selling HVAC systems for his company, right? And he was basically like the salesperson and the owner or part owner of a company that closed deals for HVAC systems in big companies, warehouses, things like that. And he closed those deals by calling people, cold calling, whatever, managing relationships, and then traveling around the state via his car, driving and closing those deals in person.
You said he likes having his own way. Are there any like examples that come to mind when moments where you saw that stubbornness?
um, I didn't. I was too young, so I didn't really see him in business or anything like that. But I do remember with his wife, which is obviously my grandma, but he would always like when he's talking, he's talking. Don't talk over him. So he would tell her to take five. Take five, Clara. But just like let him say his piece and let him do his thing was kind of the general theme, and that was just a funny instance of it.
Yeah, yeah. One of those people who people don't talk over because they know they're gonna get bitten if they do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So what about school? How I know you got on very well in high school in terms of just grades and stuff.
Yeah, school, I never really liked it. I always I was definitely not programmed per se, but there was a part of me that's like, I got to go do this. Okay, I'm just gonna do it, and it's what I'm supposed to do. I thought it was what I was supposed to do, right? And looking back now, it's not what I'm supposed to do. But the internet wasn't like it is today when I was, in high school. It still feels like it was like just 2012, like it was just yesterday, right?
Yeah, it's like
And
Instagram was just coming out.
like I was a junior in 2016 when Trump was running and Trump got elected. I was junior in high school. And to me, that's a huge turning point of the internet where people started to really wake up. People started to realize what's going on, the attack against men, the attack against white people, kind of mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever. And that's when I started to realize a lot of things. And then I was like, okay, this is bullshit. And definitely senior year, I slacked off like way more, right? I didn't care about any tests, none of that. But in the years leading up to it, I was like, okay, this is what I have to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to do it. And I never studied really, probably studied for like the SAT or whatever. I finished probably mid to high 90 overall average. AP test got a 5 on it, whatever. I don't know, like the AP test, for example, the AP US history test. I don't know, you probably don't know what that is, but it's just like the advanced whatever thing. It's like college credit. And
yeah,
I didn't really study at all during the year. Probably went into the end of the year with like a 90 average. And then I read the entire textbook or like most of the textbook the night before the big test. And then I just aced the test the day after. So like that was kind of my high school experience. Is like I'm just gonna show up and do whatever, and this is what I'm supposed to do, but I'm not going to go above and beyond because
yeah,
it's not something that I need to do. And I think sometimes, and obviously got to college and I drop out, and senior year of high school, I kind of realized it was all bullshit. So I said adios, and I was like sleeping in classes in senior year and stuff like that and whatever. And I probably realized it a little too late, probably wasted some of my time working a little bit harder, paying attention to stuff I didn't need to pay attention to. But I think that general attitude of doing it not doing it to like an extent that's, simple and easy and good, but not going above and beyond sometimes bleeds into um, the business life that I have now. And it's something that I try to suppress, because to me, those little 1% pieces, like in school, if I really wanted to have that 100 overall, or, be valedictorian, I probably could have done it, but it would have required me to go and do that extra inch and do the extra little bit. And it's something I have to remember for business, because that 20 years or whatever it was, maybe 12, 15 years of kind of programmed myself to not go the extra inch when I should have been. So I really try to suppress that now.
It's like the 80-20 principle, isn't it? It's like you can get 80% of the way there with 20% of the effort. But if you're gunning for 100%, then you have to do that extra 80%, which actually, like in real life, translates to, quite small actions of sort of pushing yourself. But it is the harder sort of chasm to cross.
I wouldn't call it, how should I say this? I wouldn't call it an optimization, but it's definitely a multiplier, I think is the best way to describe it. Those little things are little multipliers. The way information is communicated between members on your team when you're running a business is a multiplier if it's done efficiently and properly. Some might call it an optimization. I think it's just it's a expansion principle. It's a piece of growth.
Yeah. And when would you say was the first time you really realized like what was out there? So obviously you're going down the school path. No one at school is going to tell you, what's possible in terms of online business or forging your own path. Like, was there a point, or was there something that made you realize like, oh, there is actually shit out here that I can do and like live life on my own terms?
Yeah. So it happened summer after high school. I talk about it sometimes, especially in the podcast, but I was listening and watching like Alex Jones in high school. And that was the first time I realized, okay, this is all bullshit. Like something else is happening here that we don't have control over. But in regards to business, the first time I really realized that was summer after high school going into college. And I was working at a golf course. That was my job. I was in the pro shop, whatever, doing that thing. And I was sick of it. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Also, at that time, I was trying to like trade stocks and stuff. My dad, started an account, and I funded it with the money I was making from the golf course, because I was too young to start an actual account that time. I was under 18. Yeah. And so I was trying to do that. I was tinkering around with that. I'm working at the golf course, and I'm like, I am not working this bullshit 9-to-5 job anymore. There's too many rules here. Everyone, I'm a great worker. I'm a hard worker. I knew I was probably one of the best employees there, but it was just a bunch of bullshit, things that were on my plate that shouldn't have been on my plate, things like that. So I decided to leave like 2 months before I'm ready to go to college. And I was like, I'm going to sell. I realized there's other opportunities there. And I'm like, I can do it. I'm smart enough. I can do it myself. So I decided I was going to sell landscaping services. But then I made a bunch of flyers, made a phone contact list. But I didn't know what I was doing. Didn't know any of this internet marketing stuff at the time. Didn't know anything about email. Didn't know anything about cold calling. I was just doing it. Right. And for a time, like I started it, but then it's just getting too close to college, and I'm ready to pack, and I ended that. So I did that very briefly, kind of like back to the landscape stuff. I was like, oh, I did that before. I can do it again.
Yeah.
So that was when I started to realize it. And then I got to college, and so it's really like that summer, it's probably like 6-month period where I like had a realization after realization. I'm like, oh my God, like this is what it is. And I get to college, and I see all these nerds there, and they're obsessed with school. And I'm there for a month. And after the first month, I knew I needed to leave, or I knew I needed to change. First thing I thought, I'm homesick. I'm going to transfer back. And I didn't do that, because after another month went by, I'm like, college is bullshit, and I'm leaving. And my idea was real estate at that time. I'm going to go sell real estate, and I'm going to get my real estate license, and I'm going to start investing in real estate, and I'm going to take all these classes and da 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 da.
Was that inspired at all by Grant Cardone?
No. That was just me thinking, what can and I wasn't really thinking internet stuff at this time. I was seeing kids do the drop shipping stuff, and I saw a bunch of Gary Vee videos where Gary Vee's talking about you can do anything, like you know,
Side hustle.
yeah. You could be fucking 30 and you'll be fine. So I'm like, all right, like I can go do this. Like this guy's talking about this, all these nerds here. You know, I was a hardcore, I was still on the Trump wave a little bit. So I was a bit of a hardcore, like conservative, political, this is what's right. We have to be strong men, whatever. And so I had my MAGA hat on, and it's all liberals. It's all liberals in college, and they think I'm a racist, stuff like that. So I was dealing with all that, and then I'm like, these people are just stupid. Like I'm way better than all these people. I have way more potential than all these people, because these people are just like closed-minded. I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna do my thing. I always knew I wanted to start a business. I actually remember in sophomore year of high school, I was like, I'm gonna do sports medicine. And then it was ROTC, which is like the Navy, right? There's Navy ROTC. And then I decided I didn't want to do that. I was thinking real estate, and I still want to do real estate, but the plan has developed over time. So I drop out. I get away from all those weirdos in college, and I really start to look at what can I do to make money? What's the next step here? And what happened is I took a week. And I was like, I'm gonna decide from the day I got back home to my parents after dropping out to when I needed to like do something. I'm gonna like think for this week. And what I decided is I need to sell something. I need to learn how to sell. So that's when I went and applied to get a car sales job. So kind of push the real estate to the side. This is kind of hard. I got to do all these classes, stuff like that. I just need to make money now. And that's what I did.
What kind of car dealership was it?
It was Chevy. So the owner of the dealership, I went to high school with his son. His son was a year older than me. The GM of the dealership knew my uncle. So I kind of had an in there. I showed up, professional, well-dressed. I got a suit on, good to go, better dressed than pretty much everyone there. I come in all kind of proper. I'm an 18-year-old kid, fresh out of high school, basically fresh out of high school. I just dropped out of college, kind of told my story. I was like, this is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to make money. I want to learn sales. I feel like I'm a hard worker. I've worked for people before. I want to do this for you. Will you hire me? And that was it. I just pitched myself. And they ended up giving me the job, and I got training for a month, and then that was it. I sold a car. I think I sold a car my first or second day there. It was my first sale, and that was a crazy feeling.
Selling a car, like you just convinced someone to buy like some $30,000 thing.
Well, you got to remember, just 7 months before that, it's like 7 months before that, I'm in high school. I'm in high school sleeping at my desk 7 months before that.
Yeah.
And then 7 months later, I'm in a car dealership wearing a suit, speaking to people that are 50, 60 years old, trying to convince them or persuading them to buy a car for me. And they did buy a car. So light bulbs are going off in my head. I'm like, I can make money. Like, this is crazy. And all the other guys in the dealership are there for 30 years, 10, 15 years, whatever. They're adults. They're grown. I'm still a kid. I'm like 18. So I think
they've lost the spark.
Yeah. So I think I've discovered something at that point. But month after month went on, and I started to, so it was like, that was November, December of 2017. And month after month went on, so it gets to 2018, and I'm like, this is good, but this is still a job. This is good, this is still a job. I also struggle to get leads because a lot of the people that walk through those doors are people that are, return customers. And everyone's been there 20, 30 years. I can't help a lot of these people. So I started to have this ability to sell. I started to really get the process down. I'm learning, I'm doing good. I'm speaking, like I have to speak and come up with things on the spot, to actually start selling. I'm learning at 18, 19 years old. Then it comes to February 2018, and I decide, after doing all this research, making money online, because I'm seeing these ads, I'm on YouTube, I'm researching sales, stuff like that. and I'm seeing these ads about drop shipping. So it's February 2018, and I make an LLC because I think that's the first thing I need to be an official business, and it's just stupid. And I buy a drop shipping course from Sebastian Georgiou, which I don't know if I said that right, but obviously I've met him in person now in Miami, which is things kind of come full circle, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And because he had probably been doing it maybe 6 months, a year at that point, and he had been so I'm like, this is the guy, like this kid can do it, I can do it, and we're about the same age. So
that's interesting, because I feel like everyone has a person when they're getting into the online business space who they look at, and it's like they see enough of themselves in that person for them to be like, if this guy can do it, I can do it.
I'm like, I was more so mad. I was like, this kid is my age, and he just said he made 20K this month. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I selling cars? Right? Or I can do both, right? And then I'm like, okay.
You suddenly feel like a fuck up.
Yeah, kind of. Not really, but you believe in yourself so much that you just have to go and try it yourself. This kid can do it, I can do it. I believe in myself, so I'm the best. I can go do it. So I bought that course. Didn't help me at all, but I'm a beginner at that point. And from there, I think I started about 7 stores, 7 dropshipping stores, and I had no idea what I was doing. I'm just playing. I'm learning Shopify. I'm learning how to run paid ads. I'm learning how to go purchase ads from theme pages. So a lot of the traffic I was getting, actually my first sale came from a Google ad. I don't know what I was doing. It was like those like chargers, right? It was like a wall charger. It was an AliExpress little wall charger, but it had a camera in it. It was a fake wall charger. It was like a spy camera. And so I had it. That was my first sale. I'm at the dealership, probably have a pic of it. But that was like, I don't know, 30, $40 I collected from that. So now it's another epiphany. It's like March, I think it's April of 2018. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm sitting at the dealership and I just made $35, whatever it was. I think it was 34. So this is passive income. That's how I was thinking about
the notification came in.
So it's not passive income, obviously. But that was a funny time. So from there, I started 7 stores, and I really started to buy theme page ads. I was making some sales, but nothing was really profitable. And I was buying a lot of theme page ads, like dog space, like jewelry space stuff. I'm just playing around with everything. But I'm learning the Shopify stuff. I'm learning Facebook. I'm learning theme pages. I'm learning how to actually build sites. My sites are looking good. Like I'm getting it. Things are kind of developing. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This niche, it was like the business entrepreneurship, motivation, hustle niche on Instagram was blowing up. It was going crazy. So there was probably like 10 pages, and I had found it. I got recommended on my Explore page. I can do that. All these theme pages I'm buying from right now, why don't I just build my own? I can just repost the content, make my own stuff, and then grow and sell ads and shoutouts. And all these guys selling court, I can sell ads to them. Great. And that's what I did. And that's kind of the first piece of success. But it took about 8-9 months of this loop of drop shipping. But before that, it's kind of crazy how my mindset expanded, because the year before, in 2017, it was October that I dropped out, and it was October of 2018 that I started the first IG page, and it took off that first month. So it took about a year. Well, maybe a little more than a year from the summer stuff, whatever. But it took about a year from the actual decision towards seeing a sliver of success in my mind, or success that was substantial, not just a sale, not just a couple drop shipping stores, whatever. But I definitely think that, like your point at the beginning of this, when we first started talking, it was always lingering there, but there was never a trigger for it. And it was lingering in the lawn care stuff, the shoveling, I was at the golf course, but I didn't like it. I'm going to go back and do landscaping. I want to have this sports medicine thing. I always envisioned having a job, but then building that job into a company. And that was the idea. So get my sports medicine degree, and then I'm going to start my own firm or start my own clinic or something. There's always that lingering feeling there, or the real estate stuff, or the car sales. There's always lingering. But I actually think college was great for me, and going there was great for me, because that was the it was like a turning point. It was so painful. The experience was so shitty. I hated it so much. And not painful and like, oh, I'm gonna it's just like, this sucks. This is not my natural element. I know I shouldn't be here. So it was so painful that it really almost triggered it's like a boomerang, not a boomerang. It's like when you jump on a
Slingshot.
yeah, you jump on a trampoline and it just like slings you up in the air. It's kind of that. You kind of go so negative that it just throws you so far positive, and that's what it was.
Yeah. But it's interesting as well because like the whole thing about you having those businesses when you were younger and then always having this thought in your mind of like, you'd obviously been inspired by something where you thought, I am one day going to run a successful business.
Yes. I just didn't know what it looked like.
Realistically, the only reason you ended up with the IG theme page that blew up is because subconsciously you were looking for it because you knew that that's what you wanted. So like when the opportunity came your way, and the same with like the drop shipping ads and everything like that, it's like how many people would have seen those ads at the exact same time you did and just skipped them and watched the video they were trying to watch. But because you had this idea in your mind of like the life you wanted to live and who you wanted to be, for you, it was actually like, fuck, like I'm actually gonna take this seriously and do something about it.
Oh, 100%. And another thing that I remember during that time, I believed that I could be those guys on YouTube so much that I bought a camera. I still have it, back in New York at my parents' place, but it broke or whatever. But I bought a camera for like $1,000 at the beginning of 2018. I was like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber right now. Do I have one of the other? I think I bought two. Yeah. I bought that camera and this camera, this little Canon G7X, beginning of 2018. And I was like, I'm gonna be a YouTuber right now. And I was just obviously
Did you make any videos?
I made some videos. They were retarded. They were so stupid. I was just like, I don't even know what they were, but I was like documenting working hard or something. And I'm like, so I'm like an 18, 19-year-old kid. I don't know what I'm doing at that point, but I always had this inkling of I can do it. They're doing it. I can do it. Right. And that same feeling I had then, I have now. And seeing it start to come to fruition, it's like 20 something thousand on IG, 20,000 on Twitter. The podcast is growing. And what day is today? February 9th, 2023, right? So from here, it's interesting because the last 3-4 years, I've grown my theme pages. I've grown my clients. I've grown other people's brands. And I've never taken the time to really focus on growing my own. And us sitting here is a piece of that, right? We're going to take this video and repurpose it, even though, we're using it for threads, we're using it for writing emails and stuff like that. And for those of you watching, Joe's our in-house writer. Joe's amazing. If you want to work with Joe, just DM
Who's
me,
watching this?
Right? Anyone on YouTube. But yeah, I'm going to throw this on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. But
fucking hell.
Where was I? Oh, the brand. I'm finally at the point where fulfillment is on point for us at Launch Socials to a degree where we're not in it so much that I can focus on doing this. I can focus on making content. I can focus on running shout out ads. I can focus on writing all day, which is super exciting because it's now time to focus on my brand. And it's really one of the first things that I started thinking of way back in 2018 was I can do that too. And now it's starting to come to fruition. So it's really cool to see. And having this conversation is a good reminder of it.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy, like how it's like it's a long time, but it's also a very short time span to have those results. And now you're obviously getting to a point where it seems, anyway, from an outside perspective, like you're getting close to that exponential part of the curve where this buildup of effort for years and years is all sort of coming together.
You know what it's been? It's about applying pressure to the right things now. I've been applying pressure into a lot of skills, into the old agency, the theme pages, stuff like that, applying pressure to make money in this regard. But there wasn't a lot of leverage there. The fact that we now have a team, right, where we can, if I apply enough pressure on the front end, we have the leverage to where on the back end to where it actually just becomes this massive flywheel and things can go exponential. I think the possibility for exponential growth was always there, but the right pieces weren't in place. And now that the pieces are in place, like you said, the exponential growth with the right pressure applied just will happen. It will just become reality.
Yeah. If we can rewind a little bit, when you said that first IG page that you started blew up within like the first month.
Yeah.
How was that possible?
So I got some content up. I DM'd one of the guys that I saw that was growing pages. There's like I said, there's like 10, 15 pages in the make money space. So I was one of the first ones. I had one of the first ones. And so I DM him, I'm like, dude, like, how do you do this? He ended up being an hour away from me. He was in Rochester, New York. I'm in Syracuse, New York. So he lives an hour. So I'm like, okay, this is great. This guy from Rochester that also is in sales, or he's doing like insurance sales at that point. He also is building up. I can do this. Like, it was just a kind of like a confirming thing. So what I did is I put up like 20 posts, and then I started buying shout outs from people. I spent maybe like $1,000, probably like that first like 2 weeks. I spent like $200 on shout outs and grew like 3,000, 4,000 followers. And then I started monetizing like right away. Like, I started pitching people on, yeah, you can buy shout outs on my page. I'm getting 2,000. I was getting as many story views as I was followers. And the people DMing me were amazed by that. And the reason was because I was buying so many shout outs, but shout outs were so cheap. And I should have doubled down on it so hard. One of the biggest missed opportunities. Dude, I was buying this is October 2018. I was buying shout outs from 50 to 100K follower pages in the business entrepreneur motivation space for $10. $10 per. And to me at the time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not making a lot of money. I spend like $200 out of whatever I made that month, a couple grand. And I'm like, wait a minute, like this is a lot of money. Do I really need to be spending this? I got to invest too. So I shouldn't have been investing in crypto at that time. I shouldn't have been buying any stocks at that time. Now I buy stocks all the time and crypto all the time, whatever. That's different. Income is at a place where it makes sense. But what I should have been doing is buying way more shout outs, because I was getting them for $10 a pop. Shout outs now are just ridiculous. Like, it's very interesting to see where the spaces come. I'll finish answering your point in a second, but on that note, like, I remember talking to the guy that owns At Wealth on Instagram. You pull up At Wealth now, it's like 6 million followers or something. Shout outs go for a lot, multiple thousands of dollars.
Wow.
Back then I knew him at 10K followers, and I knew,
nuts.
and that was, I don't know, maybe 2019, 2020. So to see the growth of the space is incredible. From $10 shout outs to multiple $1,000 shout outs in time span of a couple of years. The space came out of nowhere. So I was kind of at the forefront of that, and I just bought shout outs, and probably in the first month I was at 12 to 15K. I don't know if I have the numbers still or not, but I was at like 12 to 15K followers in the first month, and I was like, boom, bingo, like I got it. I remember the first week it was at 1 to 3K, and I was at the barbershop, and I'm showing my boy, because I went to high school, and I'm like, dude, I just started this Instagram page. Is that like 3K followers? He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? He's like, he followed it, but it's just weird, right? Like people didn't fully understand it. I didn't fully understand it. But then a month or two later, 3 months later, I bought another page. And at that point, I'm at like 70K on the first one. I'm at like 50K on the one I bought. Things are going good, and I'm making money from shout outs. And I dropped a product on it on how I grew the pages.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. That was the one you made in 3 days, right?
Yeah, so I quit my job, or about to quit my job, and I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna have much money here. I'm not gonna have any income. I'm gonna have shout out income, but it's low right now because shout outs are still cheap at that time. And I don't want to whore my pages out. I don't want to whore this audience out, which I should have done a little bit more. I should have, because the end goal of business is to make money. And I was trying to protect this thing, which I shouldn't have been protecting. And I'm not gonna run shout outs, but I should have just been running shout outs. I should have been running it up way harder. I had a couple pages that I sold. Absolute idiot. That's so dumb. Have like 15 to 20 pages now. The space isn't the same, but if I kept those pages I sold, man, if I kept the pages I sold, and I was way more about my money at that point in terms of I would have made way more money, like ridiculously way larger, like probably like 5 to 10x more money if I was way more about my money at that point. And
Yeah.
something that I forgot what you asked, but
Well, I think you answered the question I originally asked, but I was going to say, I think, you mentioned the thing about how you obviously now your mindset in regards to investing is like, you focus on cash flow first, and then once you get to a point where it makes sense, then you start investing.
yeah,
But back when you were first starting and doing all this shit, it's not like you had that same information available, for example,
yeah.
like there is in the Twitter space now.
The problem
Um,
was that I thought 10K a month was a lot of money. And making 10K a month, because I'm Syracuse, New York. You make 10K a month, you make 20K a month, you're rich. You're making a
yeah,
lot of money.
I know exactly what you mean because I'm from a small town in the countryside in England, and it's like no one earns that much money.
It's facts. So to me, at that point, I'm like, I just need 10K a month, and I'll just keep making 10K a month. That's cool. Like I invested 200 here, 200 here, boom, boom, boom. In the shout outs, I'm gonna put 1,000 in the crypto. I'm gonna put 1,000 in stocks. This is good. This is what I should be doing. And yeah, like it's important to keep your money. Absolutely. And I still have a lot of those investments today. I have most of them. Right. And that's great. And it built a good foundation. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but there's an opportunity cost because if I did a couple of things, if I bought more shoutouts, if I started more pages, if I kept my pages, and then I sold more ad space on them, like I missed the whole NFT run. I know a couple of guys, I haven't talked to them directly. I know people that know them that made 5 to 10 mil just from owning theme pages for the 6 month period. They made like 5 to 10 mil from the NFT shoutouts that they promoted. There was
Wow.
guys selling 3 shoutouts a day for 30K each on their pages. They're making 90K a day from their theme pages from NFT promos. Ridiculous.
Wow.
Ridiculous. So I missed that wave because I was like, I got something to protect. I'm going to, even then, like even 2022, 2021, right? I missed that wave and I regret it because I was focusing on the agency and I was partnering with my business partner at the time. And he wanted to kind of stay away from the more controversial stuff. We're going to use our pages to grow our clients, stuff like that. But the opportunity cost was just huge. So it was a good lesson to learn. I'm glad I learned the lesson, which is go get the money. A theme page doesn't, matter. The audience on the theme page doesn't matter. Use the traffic while you have it. Get the money while the asset's here because these things are fleeting and the internet's fleeting. Things change. They're not going to be here forever. So yeah, the lesson I learned was like take advantage now while you have it.
Well, that's another thing because you can hear people say give advice and all this shit, but in my own experience, no matter how much you should or should not do something, you pretty much have to learn the lesson your hard way yourself for you to actually implement it,
It's
especially when it comes
crazy.
to financial decisions, which are so emotional.
It's crazy because my intuition was always right. My intuition was always run the ads and just repost content and grow as many pages as possible and stuff like that. But I talk to other people in the space and they have different opinions and it changes my opinion and stuff like that. And I'm a young kid. I'm still 19.
You
I'm
hesitated.
just learning. I hesitated a little bit. My intuition was always get as many pages as possible, run as many ads as possible, post as many posts as possible. And I didn't do it because I listened to other people, different strategies. They're a little bit more successful than me. So I'm like, oh, I'll do that. And I shouldn't have. I should have just done what I was doing. It would have been so big. So I do
Well,
regret that.
that ties into the whole thing about speed because it's like even something as small as getting out of bed in the morning, like you wake up, the longer you spend in bed after you wake up, the
Yeah,
harder it is to
it's
get
so
out.
true.
And it's the exact same thing with making these big decisions. It's like the longer you wait between having the idea that is the thing you should do and actually doing it, the harder it becomes to actually do.
100%. And there's something interesting with making it. But I was talking with Logan about this the other day. But I was like, dude, you gotta like, to me at least, the way I like to start my day is wake up, make my bed immediately, so I cannot go back to bed. And I don't wear my chains to bed, and I don't want to ruin them. That's the first thing. That's why I don't. But then when I put them on and I change into like an outfit, it's like a good starting point of the day. I shower, my bed's made, I change into an outfit, put my chain. I'm ready for the day now, and it's a mental shift. So
Yeah.
I think those checkpoints as well in business of intentionally making a decision to do something are very important, and really making sure you can't go back. Like the one thing I felt as though during that time, since I was super young, I was like drifting. I was drifting through everything when I should have been just grabbing opportunities and taking advantage of them with intention.
Yeah.
So setting that intention to start the day, same as setting intention when you start something new in business, is super important.
Yeah. I think it's also a trigger thing. I use the concept in writing because it's this whole thing about doing deep work, and I use it when I'm writing. So I listen to like movie soundtracks, and because I've done it so many times now, listening to these soundtracks, it almost like as soon as it comes through my headphones, it's like a trigger to get into that work zone. And I think it's the same thing with the outfit. It's like, because that's what you do at the start of your day, right before you get into work.
If you made it this far, thank you for watching, guys. As I said, that was a quick interview that Joe and I did kind of behind the scenes, and I ended up using it here for YouTube because I thought a lot of people would enjoy it. And obviously, if you made it to this point, you did. Probably going to do a couple more of those with different people, maybe some other podcasts, maybe some more with Joe, stuff like that. If you guys do have any specific questions or topics or things like that that you want to see more of, that you want to see me talk about, that you want to see answered, drop those down below in the description, and I will answer those for you. The only thing that I ask from you is if you enjoyed this, just go and subscribe. Tap in with me via the DMs on Twitter or Instagram. Answer them as much as I can, or someone from my team will answer that and get it to me. And yeah, I hope to see you guys on the next video. And like I said, drop a comment below and subscribe if this was helpful, you enjoyed it, or you want to see anything similar, or you have suggestions for future videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one.